Dudes and dudettes of YouTube land, it's Frank with What's the Point EDC. Today we got us an interesting video, a little something different. So if you like sharp knives and good vibes, this is probably the place for you. Stick around and let me know what you think. Let's go ahead and get into this. This is going to be a steel video. I have 3 different knife companies with 2 different steels, ARRPM9 and 9CR18MOV. Now, the ARRPM9 is Artisan Cutlery's proprietary steel, which is a powder metallurgy steel. And the 9CR18MOV is what it is. It's just a standard budget steel, mid-tier steel. Both are stainless steels. Both are solid. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is the Nedfoss Phoenix and 9CR18MOV steel, G10 scales, full tang. You guys see what it is. This right here is going to be the Civivi Backlash, 9CR18MOV steel, G10 scales, G10 backspacer, stainless liners, and a liner lock. Yes, sir. And by the way, yeah, you can freaking middle finger flick that bad boy. Don't think you can. It's not just a flipper. And we have the Artisan cut. I mean, we got the CJRB Pyrite, which is Artisan Cutlery's budget company. This is in ARRPM9 steel. So let's go ahead and get into the what makes the steels. Let's get into the composition of these steels. Right here, I made a ghetto WTP list. Don't you guys go jacking me on my hand right now. It's janky. That's the doom word. It's janky. It's some janky handwriting. So this is the composition of the steels. We will get into the rare earth part down here on the ARRPM9. As you see, ARRPM9, 9CR18MOV. So they're very, very similar to each other. So let's go ahead and get into it, everybody. So what we have here for the ARRPM9 is an HRC between 58 and 60. The carbon is going to be 0.09%. Chromium is going to be 18%. Molybdenum, or however the hell you say it, is going to be 1%. Vanadium is 0.10%. Manganese is going to be 0.45%. Nickel at 0.60. And the silicone is at 0.80. That right there is your ARRPM9 steel, right, Sean? So let's go ahead and get into the 9CR18MOV. It's got an HRC, which is a little bit softer at 57 to 58, which is actually surprising. I didn't think it was quite that low. I was thinking it was going to be 57 to 59. But anyway, it's got a carbon content of 0.95%, chromium of 18%, molybdenum of 1.3%, vanadium of 0.12%, manganese of 0.80%, and the silicone content, which the only thing that 9CR18MOV doesn't have that ARRPM9 has. Here you go. Here's the chart. You may go ahead, feel free to pause the screen and check it out or do some researching. So it doesn't have any nickel in the 9CR18MOV. Silicone is 0.80. Nitrogen and sulfur are not in the ARRPM9 at 0.60% for the nitrogen. And the sulfur is going to be 0.03%. So that's very low. So let's go ahead and get into this right here, guys. We got some cool knives right here to talk about, and we're going to make this as quick as I can and as painless as I can. But this has been asked of me. People had asked me, what is ARRPM9 and what is the difference in ARRPM9 and the steel that it is most like? And it is most like 9CR18MOV. So the carbon in the steel, it improves hardness and wear resistance, corrosion resistance, but high amounts of it will definitely decrease the strength of the steel. Now, the chromium is for tensile strength and edge retention, and it enhances corrosion resistance and wear resistance. The molybdenum increases machinability and strength. Now, the nitrogen improves strength and edge retention. Now, once we get down to the nickel, which there is no nickel in 9CR18MOV, so neither one of these 2 knives right here have nickel in them. But the nickel... Yeah, I almost skipped over what I was thinking of here. So the nitrogen improves strength and edge retention. The manganese increases hardness and brittleness. Silicone improves strength. The phosphorus increases strength. And the sulfur increases machinability. Vanadium increases wear resistance and hardenability. And the nickel improves hardenability and can increase corrosion resistance in significant amounts. Now that we've got that broken down, I'm sure I've just confused everybody. I'm sure I'm not remembering things right, and I'm sure I should have jotted down a whole rack of notes other than these tiny little side notes. So this is going off the top of the dome, guys. Hang in there with me. So they are very close in steel compositions here. What makes the steel itself? I haven't done any testing on any of the three of these knives. I have done zero testing, so I can't speak on the steels. But what I can tell you is that they're going to be very much stainless because they both have 18% of chromium in it. So having that high amount of chromium is going to help out with some tensile strength in the edge retention. And of course, as I said, it helps out with corrosion resistance. So in my own opinion, I do think that these steels are so close to one another that there isn't much of a difference, other than it seems to be that the ARRPM9 can get a little bit harder with the HRC at its premium, at its best level. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't make the softer 9CR18MOV harder, because you can up the HRC on it, but will it enhance the steel, or will it decrease any of the steel properties is the question. And I'm going to have to assume that it will decrease the properties and make the steel less. It'll probably make it a little bit too brittle, probably make it a little chippy, but I'm not 100% sure, because I've seen steels that I didn't think would go over 62 HRC being done at 64 HRC before. And that's very interesting. But what helps a lot is edge geometry. Heat treatment is very important. The steel composition itself is very important. Let's go ahead and get that known right now. But one thing that really helps a knife with its performance is going to be the geometry of the steel. I can't say that enough, how much the actual edge geometry is going to help the performance of any steel. If you have a very blunt knife, let's say, like, check this out right here real quick. Now, this isn't ARRPM9, nor is this 9CR18MOV. It's actually 1055, I believe. This is the cold steel GI Tanto. Terrible edge geometry, absolutely terrible. Now, you would say, well, it looks like it comes down here to either a hollowed out or a flat grind. Well, it is, but it's so thick behind the edge that it doesn't help much, and this isn't very high. So it's just like it's an abrupt angle. So keep that in mind, everybody. Just because you have a steel that is a high edge retention steel with high hardness doesn't necessarily mean that that steel is actually going to perform as good as, let's say, a lower steel with better edge geometry, which I guess I should do a video sometime down the road about edge geometry versus HRC versus the heat treat in general versus everything. Because that's an interesting thing right there. And honestly, it's something I had been recently learning that I'm really finding out plays a major role in certain knives. Because these two knives may have the exact same steel, but this one is going to outcut this one, and it's going to have a longer edge retention than this one, simply because what we got here is we've got us a flat grind right here. And it's nice and it's thin. But what we have here on the Backlash is a high hollow grind, and it gets down thin. With that hollow grind, the thinner the steel, the longer it can hold its edge. That's just a fact, and there's no way around it. And the lower the angle, like, so we have, okay, this is going to get, I'm getting ready to sound like an idiot here. I'm trying to hug this camera. So let's say this is your angle right here on your edge, your actual edge apex. That's going to be a low or a high angle. Now, when you go ahead and you put it in like this, it changes the angle. So like this, which is going to be a lower angle, you're going to have better edge retention, because as the steel wears away, it won't do what this will. Think about something like this wearing away. So when it goes like this versus when this wears away and it starts to go like that. You guys, I'm sure you guys see what I'm getting at. And I just put my face within a centimeter of the microphone. So if I was screaming in your ear, I apologize. But I don't apologize. So what am I getting at with this? What I'm getting at is nothing more than what I've just said. It's that simple, guys. It's I'm interested in steels, and it's been asked of me to tell what the chemical composition is of, I say chemical, what the composition of the steels are, what the differences are, and is there a steel that is close to ARRPM9, or is ARRPM9 exactly like another steel with just a different name and made in the powder metallurgy? So let me go ahead and answer a question. Like I've been saying, that the ARRPM9 is a powder steel, which that is awesome. Now, a powder steel has smaller carbides, and the smaller the carbides, the less cracking can happen, because let's say you've got carbides that are all spread out real far. If a crack does occur, which it will occur easily, a little more easily with a non-powder metallurgy steel than with a metallurgy with a powder steel. Kind of like you have steels like Crewware. Crewware comes in a ingot form steel, which is non-powder, and it comes in a CPM, which is a powder metallurgy steel by Crucible. So the non-powder metallurgy steel, when the cracks happen, it happens easily, a little more easily, and it spreads farther. You got these cracks that go from here out to here, and you get a chip. Or you can have powder metallurgy steel, and the cracks go from here to here. You see what I'm saying? Like the distance that the crack has to travel is farther, and making it more brittle and making it more susceptible to bigger chipping. So that's the benefits of a powder metallurgy steel. It's just better, but no, it's not always better. I can't say that, guys. I'm gonna be totally honest with you, because 14C28N is hella strong. Matter of fact, 440C is hella strong. They're just tough steels, and they're non-powder metallurgy. So that doesn't apply to everything. But if you were to make both of those steels in a powdered form, I'm sure that they would be fire. That's like 154 CM versus CPM 154, which that will be a steel video that I will do later on in time once I get some knives that are in those said steels. I have 154 CM knives, but I do not have a CPM 154 steel. But that's a cool thing to talk about right there. So I guess before I go ahead and end it, we'll just talk about the knives in general. So this is the artist. I just did it again. It's the CJRB Pyrite. Very cool steel. I mean, very cool knife with ARRPM9 steel, which is Artisan Cutlery's proprietary steel. That powder metallurgy steel, like I was just saying. Button lock running on bearings. So I was asked if my bearings are like rough. They're not rough, but I have smoother knives. But you have to keep in mind that this is a $50 knife. So, of course, a $200 knife is probably going to have smoother bearings. But this is a very, very, very solid Wharncliffe budget knife. You got solid slabs of stainless steel with some skeletonization in there with your deep carry pocket clip. The screws are flat, but the pocket clip is not inset, which is not that big of a deal. You do have a small choil right here with multiple deployment methods for this thing. So you're getting a solid knife, and it does have a little bit of heft compared to the micarta ones and the G10s. And they even have titanium with inlays out now. But yeah, so check them out. If you have a local knife shop, you can go in there and get a feel for the knife itself. So that's that. Civivi Backlash. What can I say about this that I haven't already said? This has become one of my go-to EDC knives. It's super pointy, super thin edge geometry with that hollow grind that really helps. This thing still has a crazy edge on it, and me personally, I didn't think 9CR18MOV could hold an edge like this. But like I said earlier on, the thinner the edge geometry and the lower the angle of the actual apex of the angle, it's going to give you more edge retention. Can it make it a little less tough? Well, sure it can, but you can't get all three. You can't get your toughness, your corrosion resistance, and your edge retention, all three. It's hard to have extreme high amounts of all three, as I said. But this is G10 scales, G10 backspacer, stainless liners, like I told you earlier on. It is definitely skeletonized up in there, as you can see. It's got this good liner lock right here that's got decent access to it. But I like this little thumb ramp, and it really does help a lot. The clip itself, as you can see, it is not inset, but the screws are flat, major time plus. And I don't know if I've told everybody this, but I really like backspacer knives, because that backspacer just gives so much strength to the actual knife itself. And yes, barrel spacers, hence these right here are barrel spacers. They are strong, they are tough, they are good to go. But I prefer that solid backspacer, to be totally honest with you guys. This does have a solid choil. This choil is excellent with that flipper tab there. So the deployments on this knife right here, it's a flipper tab knife, and the flipper tab is jimped. It has very good jimping on it, very effective jimping. And the texturing on these scales are very nice too. So Civivi did a good job with this one right here. Both of them do have doodad holes. Shout out to the Beard of Doom. So let's move on to the last one. This is the Nedfoss Phoenix. This looks a lot like another knife, but it's you guys can figure it out yourself. It's not a direct copy though, but it has very, very high similarities to another knife. It's got G10 scales with nice texturing. Feels very good in the hands. As you can see right here, it does have finger grooves. Now here's the thing, guys. This feels very good. These finger grooves do, because not all knives with finger grooves are comfortable because it forces your hands in a certain area, but Nedfoss seemed to figure out a good way to do this and to make it as comfortable as possible. And you got these right here grooves that go from the tip to the end of the scale. Have a lanyard hole in there. It's a full tang knife with nice blade stock. You have a fuller, have like a swedge that runs clean from back here where the plunge grind starts. Very good plunge grind, by the way. I gotta give it to Nedfoss for that very good plunge grind. You're gonna be able to sharpen this for a hot minute. Down to this drop point, it's got a good tip, good power behind it. Look at this thickness of that tip. Very nice tippage. You got an upper and lower hand guards right there, so you don't have to worry about slipping off when doing heavy, hard use stabbing or piercing motions, you know. 9CR19, jeez, I've been going for 16 minutes. 9CR18MOV steel. It's just a solid knife. I've really enjoyed this knife, though I haven't done any testing with it. None at all. I just like the knife, and it's like one of them sleeping knives. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all all have your own sleeping knife. I just happen to have a couple. We all like to sleep with a knife, don't we? Come on now. We're all knife guys. We can admit this, y'all. All right, look, I feel like I've held you guys up long enough. So before I go, I want to talk about this rare earth part right here. So the rare earth part is something that's very confusing to me, simply because it's such a low amount at 0.05%. And if I'm not mistaken, the rare earth air quote part, it naturally happens when you are doing something with the steels. So I'm not going to get into it a lot, but I don't think that the rare earth part helps a lot. It may or it may not. It may just be a sales pitch. I'm not sure, or something to separate it from the rest of the pack. But either way, it's in there. So it is what it is. If you enjoyed this video, and if you enjoy steels, if you enjoy different size knives, different style knives, different locking mechanisms, if you like shooting the shit, then this is the place for you guys right here. I appreciate you watching these videos. I appreciate the support. I hope everybody comes to the lives that me and Doom do. All right, everybody, I got one last thing to say. If you're an addict, never quit quitting. Stay strong and live long. If you're struggling with bad thoughts, reach out and talk to somebody. You got this. It's all right to talk. Never quit quitting and never give up. Stay strong and live long, and I'm out.